Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. We are joined by a special guest today, Brother Zahid Akhtar. Brother Zahid Akhtar, he runs you may have heard of the Documenting Oppression Against Muslims Facebook page. It's a very popular page that we've seen for the past few years now. And we are here to talk about Brother Zahid himself, his page, and how he was involved with this Uyghur issue. But first, let's just welcome Brother Zahid here. Welcome, brother. How are you today? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Jazakallah khair for having me on.
Jazakallah khair for coming on, for spending your valuable time. I know how busy you are with running the page and all the dawah that you do, and telling shedding light on the various oppressions that are going on in the world, not just East Turkestan. So, brother, let's just start. Let's just get right into it. We don't want to go for too long and bore the audience. Brother, start off with who you are and how you got involved by starting this doc. Why did you start such a page? And yeah, let's just go from there.
Okay, my name is Zahid Akhtar. I'm originally from Pakistan, but I'm based in the UK in the West Midlands. We started documenting oppression against Muslims, for short, we say DOAM, since early 2014. We thought that there was a need where a central point for us to document, basically be a voice for the voiceless and the victims who don't have, who are not mentioned in the mainstream media or whatsoever. So we thought we needed a dedicated project specifically for this particular reason. And early on at that time, it was more Syrian based, and at that same time the Israeli military attacked Gaza, and we started from there, and alhamdulillah since then we've been growing slowly but surely. But the main point was we Muslims need to control the narrative, especially when it comes to media. As opposed to Western media, mainstream media, what they tend to do is they add their own innuendos, their own spice to the story at hand, and it's not given the full picture of what's going
on. What year did you guys start? Because I remember a time, and this was back when I was in high school, especially after September 11. I was only in grade 8 at the time. For the next 5 or 6 years, there was no real media talking about, whether it be social media or Muslim media in itself. I know I follow also Brother Dili Hussein with 5 Pillars now, but so I guess you guys wanted to fill this void. So about what date did you guys start? What year period?
2014, early 2014.
Yeah.
So it's been 6 years now. We started from Facebook, then we branched out to other platforms, because being a Muslim-based organization, we are likely to be targeted by trolls, by even Western media, and targeted attacks. For example, on Facebook, this is our 3rd page we're running from. Prior to 2 years ago, our first page, we had over 400,000 followers, but one day Facebook decided to completely shut it down without any giving reasons whatsoever. And many of the content, it's funny because many of the content that we show is also displayed by mainstream media. So it's a bit of a funny one, because whilst we're reporting what mainstream is also reporting, they don't take theirs down, but they take us down, where we're basically just solely because we're a Muslim-based project.
Yeah, I just want to touch upon that. What sort of difficulties? I mean, you've mentioned some of the trolls. That's an issue that we've had on Talk This Turkestan, but alhamdulillah, so far we haven't been shut down totally like you guys have. I mean, 400,000 followers, and to be shut down like that, we've only got a humble following of about 65,000 now. So could you just touch base? Maybe there are other brothers and sisters that want to get into this. What sort of difficulties could one face when doing this sort of work?
You got to be careful in how you word things, in how you present your content. It's gonna be to the point. There's gonna be no ambiguity, and it has to be clear, concise. No graphic violence whatsoever. The social media platforms, especially Facebook, you get sometimes, sometimes you see a photo or a video that has an overlay image which says this contains graphic, but anything more than that, for example, if it's a fight, for example, or somebody's attacking somebody, Facebook does not like these kind of content, so they tend to take it down, and then you get banned for 3 days or sometimes 30 days, and then you get shadow banned. Shadow banned is a new term, which
Yeah.
which they don't basically ban you. What they do is they limit your content. So if you post something, it will not appear on people's news feeds.
Yeah.
People have to go to your page to look at your content.
Yeah, exactly. And we've had that. So what will happen is, throughout the year, there'll be periods of times in the year where we'd get all these followers just rush in and then nothing, or we'd get all these shares for a period of time and then hardly any shares, unless we had devoted followers that would go on
Yes, yeah.
religiously onto your page. Yeah, that really is amazing. So could you tell us, so you guys were sharing basically Syria, Palestine.
Palestine, Kashmir. I mean, Kashmir was a big one at the time as well. I mean, that you get basically, Hindu trolls.
Yeah,
Basically, they do mass reporting, and basically, that's when they do mass reporting, it's likely they get your video taken down or picture taken down, and that's how they usually target. But it's this kind of work is kind of dangerous, to be honest with you, depending on where you are in the world. I mean, if I was in East Turkestan now, I'll be in a concentration camp, like over yourself.
yeah,
If he was in India, probably be arrested. In Kashmir, arrested. In other parts, Saudi Arabia as well, we report the scholars that have been arrested there. We'd also be targeted there and arrested. So this kind of work is not it's not easy thing to do. You got to be strong-headed and calm, and you got to go with the flow, no matter what hits you or
wow,
what is thrown at you.
right. I just want to touch upon, because we're on the Talk to East Turkestan page, how you got started sharing the Uyghur material, because you guys were one of the first, say, non-Uyghur, whether it be pages or social media platforms, that were sharing Uyghur material. And you guys were like the first, I would say, from my experience. How did you get into it? And how would you say the stuff coming out of East Turkestan, how is that different from what comes out of Syria or Palestine? And just to give you a little bit on how to talk about
yes,
this.
no problem.
You know, that stuff that comes out of Palestine or Syria, there's loads of it. There's
Yes.
tons of it. How would you, talk about, how would you say decipher or sieve through what's real or what's fake? And could you talk to me a little about how you got started and how you go through the material?
I mean, like you said, Palestine, Gaza, India, these kind of videos and content that comes from the attacks against Muslims is fairly easy and quick. There's no hardship whatsoever. I mean, you have Muslim activists in these countries as well who are reliable. But since we started, we established reliable contacts throughout the world. I mean, in specific to East Turkestan, how we got started on it was I read an article, basically, Chinese war on terror back in 2014, and how they're trying to establish that in what they call Xinjiang, in other words, occupied East Turkestan.
Yeah.
That's what got me interested. And then I think a few months later, our brother Abdul Ghani Thabit, he messaged me, and after talking to him and corresponding with him, it became clear, that there was a need for someone, or some people, is a dire need for somebody to highlight what's happening with the Uyghur Muslims. because at that time there was absolutely zilch. Whoever you talk to, the first quick answer we gave is, who are they? Never heard of them in my life. Who are they? Where are they based? Are they from Turkey or other regions across the world? I mean, even those close to the neighbor Pakistanis as well. Even many of them are clueless as well. But at the time, after speaking to Brother Abdul Ghani, alhamdulillah, he be sending material to us, and also other Uyghur organizations that are out there that are not based in, they are based abroad. Alhamdulillah, that's how we got started slowly. So for example, things like hijab is banned, how they're trying to basically remove Islam from the whole Uyghur community, because it's a slow it's a slow process what they're trying to do. And I think 2016 or 2017, that's when it started to become real hot in that region, where they were doing flags, they were doing ceremonies where Uyghurs have to come and attend. I mean, you could see even some of these clips on YouTube. Actually, there's a whole flag ceremony where you see Uyghurs drinking alcohol, singing the Chinese National or Communist Party anthem, doing plays. I mean, I don't understand them, but for me, it seems like they're trying to alter or trying to get away from their own culture, language, and religion.
So when you have conversation, I mean, especially when you started sharing the Uyghur things, and you share things, and it's very strange because the oppression happening in East Turkestan is like no other country. Very strange. I mean, we had a former detainee come up and said that she had spent time with someone who was urinated on, and the guard said, why don't you take wudu with the urine that we're using? And when you're explaining to the people that you work with or friends and family, like, what is their reaction? Do they believe you, or does it need, like, do you end up explaining, or what happens?
At the beginning, when we first started highlighting it in 2015, 16, many comments were, these are lies. China's a friendly country, they're anti-Western. They have this idea that just because somebody's anti-West, somehow they're pro-Muslim, which is totally false. Comparison, or a parable to make. But we get you saying we still, to this day, we still get people saying you're fake. This is fake news. There's nothing going on. What's happening there? China builds mosques or donated to mosques in Muslim countries. Or even in African countries as well. And false. You're a CIA agent, you're a Western agent, and you have ulterior motives to bring down China because China's the super economic power. But we still get that today. We also get other comments, especially when it comes to when the Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan, when he was asked about the Uyghur last year, and he basically said, I don't know what's happening there.
Wow.
When we posted that, we had a lot of hate as well from Pakistanis. But these are mainly nationalists who are diehard nationalists. You do get some level-headed ones who do understand what's happening, and they don't buy the government propaganda. Because in their mind, because China is an ally of Pakistan, how can China do something anti-Islam? For some reason, they have this mindset where because their country is allied with somebody, they can't be anti-Muslim.
Exactly.
Everything's so widespread now throughout the whole media. I mean, mainstream media only catched on in late 2017, early 2018. To be honest with you, mostly just by you guys, by the Uyghur community, were highlighting it, and now because mainstream has come on board, more people are accepting it. But I think we need to look at the bigger picture. For me, we needed to understand the history behind the Uyghurs.
Yeah.
Because we haven't come across it before. You have to understand and read about history about them and where they come from. and I think that's the number one issue that many face, is that because of the lack of knowledge, the ignorance behind this issue, maybe if they understand the history and and how Islam came to that region for centuries, and mosques have been there for centuries and they're being demolished, then maybe perhaps they can understand, yes, you know what, we're not going by what the China is saying. We need to actually open our minds, and many, alhamdulillah, many have done that, and they have come on board, and they're trying to do something to, especially in Pakistan, they're trying to change the current narrative there, but it's also quite hard because it's geopolitical as well.
Yeah.
So for example,
Yeah.
many have this understanding that Uyghurs are Chinese. They're not Chinese. Uyghurs are they live in a place called East Turkestan. They've been living there for centuries, and the term Xinjiang, which means new frontier, was given to that region after occupation in 1949. And when you say this to people, suddenly something there's something switches on, that, oh yes, I never knew this. And they don't understand that especially in that region, the natural resources they have is basically the backbone of China's economy. I'll be honest with you, if you look at the numbers and the billions of trade, the oil, the natural resources, the gas, what they're trying to steal from there, and the Uyghurs don't benefit it at all. And when they understand that, then you'll be able to understand, yes, this is not something that just happened 2 years ago. It's been happening over 70 years. And prior to that, it was the Soviet Union. If you go beyond the history, it was the Soviet Union who used to control that region, who attempted to. But after the Uyghur resistance, they moved out. But then China wanted to come in the 1930s and 1920s. But once they got defeated, then they came back again. And then they basically demolished the resistance completely. And then you had a few revolutions here and there. And the Baron Massacre, 1990. Well, it wasn't a revolution, but they're imposing their one-child policy at the time. But yes, there's a lot of things going on in that region that has been going on for decades, and we ought to know what's been going on there from the beginning and what's actually been taking place.
It really is a breath of fresh air to hear this coming out of a non-Uyghur's mouth, because we say it, and for other Muslim groups or brothers from different cultures talk about this. It's really good, because it's not fake news. And I've always said, if we were fake news, let us in. Let the likes of you guys in. Let the Muslims, let foreign investigators in if they're not hiding anything. We've got a question or a comment from, as you mentioned, our brother Abdulghani Sabit, and I'm sure you can see this question. Can you see it? He says, "Brother, tell us more about the Chinese ambassador to Pakistan, or former Chinese ambassador now, Mr. Zhao Lijian, and his fake hadith. What's this all about?"
Oh, well, he's notorious, We've been, Mr. Lijian, he's banned us a few times, then he unblocks us. I don't know why he does this. But it's funny because many Pakistanis follow him, thousands really. And for some reason, they think he's as if he's the president of Pakistan, but yes, he uses this hadith, which is reported to be fabricated, where where it's reported to have said, where the Prophet said, go and seek knowledge in China. But we all know that the hadith is very weak. But what's funny is with his Eid Mubarak messages, his Ramadan Mubarak messages, his Assalamu Alaikum. This is the question we asked him, that why are Uyghurs banned from saying these words? And that was enough for us to get banned by him at the time. But he's a funny character, because he plays on the emotions of Muslims, and because many Muslims were so gullible and naive we just get duped into that, and we think that I mean, I think it was last year or the beginning of the year, he started posting about mosques in China and saying, look, you know, look, we have these all beautiful mosques. We what we did as a response, we showed him pictures of mosques in China, not in East Turkestan, where they're demolishing what do you call it, the domes and the minarets, and how they're trying to synthesize Islam there. Straight ban again,
Wow.
blocked. Another thing was he's saying he also shared a particular one, the famous Idgah Masjid in Kashgar.
Mm.
You know, the famous one, and I asked him, look, this is an empty mosque, you know, where are the Uyghurs? And then I showed him a video where, you know, they used to say 20,000 Uyghurs used to attend Friday, you know, the Jummah prayer every Friday,
Oh.
and no answer, blocked again. But yeah, I plead to, you know, the Muslim community, especially Pakistanis who get duped by him, is that please, you know, do some research. To understand what's happening, you gotta get out of your own comfort zone and start reading about history and understanding what's going on, and not follow. I mean, we had one comment where he said, "Oh, you know, how do you know what's happening there?" I asked the Chinese general and about, for example, the plight of Uyghurs, and his response was, "No, it's you know, nothing of that sort is happening there." The generals, and he responds, "Look, this is what the general responded to me." I said, I said in response, "Do you believe that?" Just because a general said to you that nothing's happening there, you automatically believe it, and that's where it comes also with a project as well. Is that unfortunately, it's quite ironic that some Muslims they tend to share, you know, they question our work or the work of Uyghurs, but when it's mentioned by mainstream media, they automatically share it.
Yeah.
The same incident, or the same mosque being destroyed or whatever, or concentration camps, they're the same ones that they have this inferior complex where they think that if Muslims are doing the work, you know, they need to be scrutinized to the max. They
Yeah.
need to be questioned. You need to get which person said this. You got to find out which person in which village, and etc. etc. But they won't do that. They won't give that same scrutiny to the mainstream media.
We've got the saying in Uyghur, yanındaki mollam, can mollam, uzaktaki
Yes.
mollam, can mollam, meaning the mullah or the people who are closest to you, they seem fake or they don't seem right. And when someone else gives you the same information from, but they're not from you, right? So for example,
Yes.
you get the same news from the BBC, they'll accept
Yes.
that,
Yes. That's right.
right?
Yes.
We've got a similar situation with us as well. We've got a similar situation.
Yeah. That's a main. I think that's a main issue in general, anyway. Where, and I think we gotta get out of that and start. I mean, you gotta start reading. You gotta invest your time. You know, you gotta understand what's happening around you. You know, you can't be so, you know, complacent and say, okay, yes, it's not mentioned in the media, so therefore it's not true. That's why social media is a powerful tool, because now these days mainstream media cites social media
Yeah,
for, you know, they actually wait for news coming out from social media, whether it's protests in Iraq or
yeah.
Yemen or Kashmir or whatever, even the Uyghurs as well. That's what they're waiting for. So now it's accepted norm now that, you
Mm.
know, that, but many are coming on board and taking heed that yes, this is happening there.
Yeah, and generally speaking, like we find China to be so far away. It's so exotic, and even the mention of Muslims in China, it sounds still very exotic. Where,
Yes,
for example, if you had Bashar al-Assad or Netanyahu make a statement, we'd go, "Ah, you liar." But because
yes.
it's China, we don't really know what's happening, and so that's the case. So, brother,
But I think I just wanted to say that, that's what China mastered, though. They
yeah,
mastered the art of controlling people. I mean, even with this virus, I mean, do we really believe that only, what is it, 10,000 or whatever have died? You know, we all know, you know,
mm,
they 100 times more than that. But yeah, basically, China has controlled so much control in the police state where the Uyghurs can't leave the country, they can't move around, they can't anything like that. So yes, they've controlled and manipulated the whole population in China and in Tibet and all other areas as well, where to the point where even if a Chinese person heard it, it would be like he's living in a different parallel universe.
Yeah. So this thing that I always mention as well is that China and Chinese people in general, they care so much about face and losing face. It's so important culturally as well. And so highlighting these issues, raising these issues, could you just talk maybe, and this could be like the last thing that we talk about, how important actually social media is? I mean, we talk about it all the time, but again, bringing it home, like how important is it to hit that like button, to hit that share button, or to add your 2 cents on the issue and to get educated about it? How important is this?
Well, I don't know if you remember, there was a Uyghur who was about to be deported from Qatar to China to be sent to a Chinese concentration camp. I mean, it's only 24 hours or 12 hours he was about to be deported. But because of the social media campaign, that stopped the deportation. And actually, he was allowed to go to a third country of his choice, which was Turkey, I think it was. And
the United States.
Okay, United States. And that in itself shows how social media is a very powerful tool. I mean, everybody is now doesn't want to be seen as very oppressive. Even the Arab dictators, or even India as well. Even Modi himself, the Indian Prime Minister, they don't want to be seen as as oppressing anybody at all. So they're trying to save face all the time. But yes, social media is a very powerful tool where it can, depending on who you are. I mean, if you're in that region, for you it could be disastrous. If you posted something from social media, I mean, our Hindu Muslim brother Ismail, I mean, he's currently imprisoned in China because of the of the work that he's been doing, and he's been harassed for years, and now he's in jail at the moment. But someone who's posting that from those kind of regions, whether it's in India, Saudi Arabia, Kashmir, whatnot, for them it's disastrous. But for us Muslims in the West, or we're in a region where we don't have that level, of oppression, we can really utilize that and actually do something about it. I mean, I know Arab princes and the royal family, they're trying to do something. And they've been trying to spread awareness. That's all good, but they need to push more for that, because, and I know they tend to get pressure from the government, obviously, because their government is in cahoots with, for example, China or India, for example, and there's a lot of pressure from there. But that's all good work at the moment. But yeah, social media is a very powerful tool. Many want to shut it down. I mean, we on Twitter, we get requests from official governments to get the tweet taken down. By the way, especially from India, we get many requests. Even Pakistan as well, we get many official requests by the government to take a tweet down. But obviously, because Twitter is more out of the social media platforms, Twitter is probably the best. The Twitter, in response, they don't take any action because there's nothing graphic violence or anything of that nature. It's just posting what's happening in that region, for example. But yeah, the government's trying to take a battle on this, and they would really want to limit people's usage of this. But because it's so far widespread, I don't think they can do anything about it, to be honest with you. I mean, it's part of way of life now, and social media for somebody could be either be sent to a concentration camp or go to another country where they can be saved. I mean, I don't know if you remember, in 2017, the Uyghur students of Al Azhar University, and I think they were about 100, 200. They were deported to China, and still to this day we don't know what's happened to them. And this is where our governments, they are complicit. in this oppression, where they deport our brothers, Uyghur brothers and sisters, and mothers, etc. They deport them there, and because China basically tells them to, and they have no choice but to listen. Otherwise, uh, otherwise, China would stop investing in their country. The economic issue at the moment, and I think all Muslim, I don't know if all Muslim countries, and I know the vast majority, they backed China's, they sent a letter to the UN, the Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Palestine even, Morocco, Algeria, Somalia, all these Muslim countries actually signed a letter to the UN backing China's anti-Islam policies and concentration camps to the UN. And you could actually see on the UN website the official signatories there. And unfortunately, until that changes, until we need to continue lobbying with them and continue trying to change the government strategy towards China, and then hopefully, because China's got a population of 1 trillion, isn't it? They got the biggest military in the world. On the military side, I don't think anything can happen. But I know US is doing sanctions, but anything that comes is welcomed. Let oppressors deal with oppressors.
Yeah.
And alhamdulillah, it doesn't matter, So I think the US has passed that act, haven't they?
Yeah.
The Uyghur Act.
But hasn't been made into law yet.
Yes. But hopefully, inshallah, that will come into law. And so it will target specifically, Chinese officials, especially, these companies where they benefit from the concentration camps. Not many Muslims are aware of that. Products like Nike, Volkswagen, C&A, there's all these many products, Western companies that actually benefit from the slave labor of Muslims in concentration camps. And I think this needs to be highlighted so we can do a BDS movement, boycott, diversity, sanction movement, where we can boycott these products and stop them from profiting from the suffering of our brothers and sisters. And please, to all those who are watching, stop buying Chinese products like Huawei. I know you guys want that phone because it's, but these phones are used, the technology used, they're so powerful. That unfortunately the same technology they're using against Uyghurs in controlling them in East Turkestan, and we Muslims need to be responsible and actually not buy those products.
Okay, brother. What is the future of DOAM? What is the future? I call you as DOAM, but what's the future of DOAM?
The future is this will always be here because there will always be oppression, no matter what. Because,
what I'm saying, next move, you guys got a Facebook page, on Twitter.
Our next stage, we want to do podcasts or live streams, get people like yourself on, talk about more in detail, like more into like culture. And I think if we understand people's culture and the language, and I think that will create a better understanding and awareness. That's one aspect. We're also looking at doing specific target videos where we talk about specific issues, for example, like how technology is being used against Uyghurs, or how certain companies are, benefiting from slave labor of Muslim countries. And there are also, those are the things we're looking at the moment. But in long term, obviously, we want this oppression to stop. But our lobbying will continue, our protesting will continue. That will always continue. But whatever is there that's needed to be done, inshallah, it will be done. But at the moment, because it's so hard to deal with all the pressure that's going on, sometimes it's hard to do, like, for example, arrange something like a video, like specifically. But now, because alhamdulillah, our team is growing. We got DOAM in Urdu, in Bangla, in Arabic. and we're trying to get it in Turkish.
I think in French you guys have it as well.
And French as well, yes.
Yeah.
And French as well. So we're looking to branch out to other languages. But I mean, the Urdu one has been and the Bangla one, and they're quite popular. I mean, especially in that region because they're so close, especially when it comes to like the Uyghur Muslims. Many have been shocked when posting it on those pages. But yes, but our aim is also, what I would like to see is a million man march again in Pakistan, marching towards the East Turkestan border. That's what I would like to see one day, inshallah, where a billion Muslims go towards, no matter who you are, go towards the border and basically do a protest there against that's, it's a dream, but that's one of my aims, inshallah.
Inshallah, brother. Last but not least, could you just quickly tell, I mean, I'm sure like most of our followers are pretty much the same, but just in case we have people don't know who you are, don't know who your page is, I've got your Twitter up here. Brother Zahid Akhtar also, if you just type in his name, he's got a YouTube channel. And if you type in documenting oppression against Muslims, you'll find a Facebook page. Is there any other way that they could reach you, or?
Those are the main ways. I mean, on Twitter, Twitter is very easy. I mean, out of the lot, they're very easy to find. You just type in and you come straight away. We're also on Instagram. That's also easy as well. But yeah, anybody can message through onto our pages and whatnot, and inshallah we'll be in touch as soon as we can. As you can appreciate, our workload is quite big at the moment. We got quite a lot of backlog to do.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan, brother. Thank you so much during this time of Ramadan. You're still fasting. I'm fasting as well. Got a couple more hours. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and reward you in this holy month of Ramadan. Bless your family.
And you too, brother. And you too.
And inshallah, there's Eid is coming around the corner. So unless I don't see you from now on, Eid Mubarak, from like an early Eid Mubarak greeting to you.
And you too, brother. Likewise.
And thank you to everyone that's joined us on this live chat. Please share this message. Please follow Brother Zahid, his page. Share the work that they do. Please follow us on Talk to Turkestan. Share this with your friends and family. And until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.